Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 44 of the Hardly Millennial Podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of
opinions.
Opinions. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host today, Adam Hansen, and across from me is the wonderful, the magnificent Kyle motherfucking Rose.
Hello, everybody.
Kyle, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to have you back.
I know. I have not gotten to see the Hardly Millennial Studio yet.
Oh, yes, that's right. So for those who may not have listened to the first one that we did, the first time Kyle was on, I had to make the podcast portable.
Yes.
So I had to I text Kyle and I was like, hey, Kyle, do you mind if I come over and do a podcast to your house? And he was like, you know what, Adam, get over here.
Yeah, get on over here. Let's do it.
And so the last time we did it, although we had good conversation, it was a little echoey and such, you know, but luckily we have you in the studio today. So
Indeed.
The best audio for the best audience in the world.
Aw. That's so nice.
So Kyle and I were talking a little bit off mic about what exactly it is we wanted to talk about today. And really, we just were like, we don't fucking know.
No.
So
Do we ever?
Do we ever? We really
No.
don't. We just end up going with it. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. If anything, we're actually going to probably just pick up from where we left off on the last podcast that we did. Just disclaimer going in, just so you know, Kyle and I love to nerd out together.
Oh, yes.
So that's just what's going to happen today. So we're going to be nerding out. We'll probably talk about anime and video games. And
So this one's for you out there, all you nerdy nerds.
all you nerdy nerds. Ooh, I love your radio voice. It's so great. But yeah, guys, so I hope you enjoy. If that's not what you're into, then maybe this isn't the podcast for you. But luckily, you have 43 other ones to go back and listen to.
Wow, 43.
43. This is number 44 today, man.
You guys have made it so far.
I know. Every day, dude.
Every day.
Every single time we try to think about when did we launch Hardly Millennial, I'm just like, oh, well, what podcast number are we on?
There you
it was
go.
that many days ago.
That many.
So let's talk about anime, Kyle.
Okay.
I think that's where we left off the last time.
I
that
think
we
so,
spoke.
yes.
So what's your favorite anime, Kyle?
Favorite anime? Probably, God, there's so many. But probably favorite of all time would still, to this day, have to be Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yu Yu Hakusho?
Oh, yes.
I really enjoy Yu Yu
It
Hakusho.
is so good.
I have the mangas. I read all the mangas. I haven't even seen all the show.
Oh,
but
the show's good.
I've read all the
I do
manga,
enjoy
though.
It is definitely one of those few animes where, dare I say it, I prefer dubs over subs.
Yeah, so you know what I've realized? I've realized a lot of older animes. I
yes.
feel that way about. So like Dragon Ball Z is another one,
Yes.
right? Where I've listened to the subbed versions and I definitely prefer the English actors.
Yeah, it's
compared-
what we're used to. I mean, I completely give credit to the Japanese voice cast, and I think the Dragon Ball community, really appreciates that, the voice actress that does Goku's voice, it's been the same voice actress ever
Every
since
time,
Goku was a little kid in the original Dragon Ball.
Well, no. So the guy who does the voice of older Goku did not do the voice of Goku.
Oh no,
in
for
Dragon
Japan.
Ball.
For Japan.
Oh, for Japan.
Yeah, it's been the same
I did
lady.
not know that.
The same lady has been voicing Goku ever since the first Dragon Ball episode came out.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, so it's actually a weird thing. So in Japan, they did not see a need to change the voice when Goku got older, where it's like here in America, we're like, oh no, your voice drops. You need a
Right.
deeper voice for your older male characters. So when Goku got older, Sean Schimmel from Funimation took over. Of course, there's been tons of different renditions. Of course, we're just more used to Funimation. That's like the official dub now.
I was gonna say, yeah, because I think even the UK has specific actors they use.
Because when we first got Dragon Ball Z to the West, it was Ocean Dub that took care of it, and I think they were in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why if you ever first started watching Dragon Ball, like in the Saiyan saga and probably even a little bit of the Namek saga, like they had different voices, and then once you got to like Frieza, it's like, oh, all of a sudden now these are the voices you've been used to for years.
Really? Is that the same if you go back and watch the older episodes now?
No, because Funimation finally went back and dubbed all the episodes. And redubbed it. But
Gotcha.
yeah, Ocean Studios had it first, and then I'm not sure exactly what happened. They like lost the rights to it or whatever, and then Toei, which is I believe Dragon Ball's parent company, took their rights and worked with Funimation, and Funimation has had the rights ever since. And so they are the ones that do it. That's why you have, Christopher Sabat and Sean Schimmel and everybody that we've known and loved for all of these years now.
Yes. But even they're getting tired.
They're getting tired, but it's just like they're still great, and it's hard to think of Goku without hearing Sean Schimmel's voice.
Well, and I'm sure that's why they still do it. But I remember I saw an interview with all the main cast members when Dragon Ball Super was released, and obviously when they were coming out with Dragon Ball Super, and the cast, the old English cast, heard about it. It was funny when they were interviewing them. None of them were actively excited that they were going to be doing Dragon Ball Z again. You could tell they were all kind of grudgingly like, okay, I'll do it again, or whatever.
Or come back to it.
Yeah, well, and the reason being, though, was Sean Schimmel specifically, he stated that when I heard that Dragon Ball Super was coming, the first thing I thought was like, 10 more years of screaming.
Yeah.
Just 10 more years of screaming constantly into a microphone.
Yep.
It's like, and I feel that.
Yeah.
I could understand why that'd get daunting.
Well, yeah, because you thought it all came to an end, they finished up GT.
Well, and I thought Super came to an end too. Is it not? It's not ending yet, though, right? There's like new shit.
Yeah, there's still kind of new shit because it's kind of There's other stuff because there's like the Dragon Ball Heroes that's tied to a game that has like its own little OVA going on.
I thought that was the new thing, right? I thought Dragon Ball Heroes was the new thing.
But no, it's totally not canon.
Right, and it's not canon, and I know that. But aren't there new episodes of Super?
I don't know. I think they were discussing like either like another movie because like I don't think the manga's done.
For Super?
Yeah, I don't know.
Was Super ever a manga?
Yeah, Super is a manga.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Akira Toriyama's still drafting it and everything.
Oh, I thought Super was
just
totally
anime.
Just anime.
No, he's writing a manga for it.
Oh shit! Well, fuck. Good on you, Akira Toriyama. I don't know how many more evolutions Goku can have for his Saiyan abilities.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's like, well, hopefully Ultra Instinct is the end of it.
I don't think so.
There's probably going to be Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct.
Yeah, Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct 5000. They're going to do some stupid shit like that. Although what I would love to see with the continuation of it, and I mean, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing it probably won't happen that way because they tried this already. Because we all know that Dragon Ball was the story of Goku, right? Mm-hmm. And then Dragon Ball Z was supposed to be the story of Gohan.
Yeah, I was watching him grow up.
And it started out that way, but then it just became back about Goku again. Uh-huh. So I would almost like for any new renditions of Dragon Ball to come out to be about like the new kin of Z fighters. So not only like the obvious like Trunks or Goten, but to also visit like Pan.
Yeah.
Or Pam, whatever.
I think it's Pan, yeah.
Or like, for example, where the fuck is Oob?
Yeah.
Oob was canon in Dragon Ball Z.
At the end.
I want to see... But at the same time, though, at the end of Dragon Ball Z, Pam was already, like, 4. Or, like, was, like, a toddler.
Yeah, no, because they ended it that way. And then when they went to go make Super, because Battle of the Gods, was such a huge hit, that Akira Toriyama was like, I'm going to retcon it, and we're going to have Super take place immediately after Kid Buu was killed.
Is that when Super takes place?
Super takes place immediately or like a year or so afterwards. So like, nope, Oob didn't happen. The GT outfit Goku wore didn't happen and everything. So it's just like, nope, they cut it off before that. It was like right after they killed Boo, and now they're just gonna pick up Super from there.
But Oop could still happen though.
He could, because and it's just like that was the big thing, because it's like I do kind of feel the same way, because that was the thing, is like Goku's last wish when he was killing Boo was to see, like, hopefully you come back someday reincarnated and I can fight you again. Mm-hmm. And that's what Oob was.
Yes.
He was the reincarnation of Boo, because, you know, Oob is Boo backwards.
Right. for those who may not have put that together.
Yes, exactly. So, but yeah, so it's just like, yeah, it was really good to see them fight and everything. It's like, yeah, it's like, we all know GT wasn't fantastic, having Goku get turned back into a kid.
But GT wasn't canon, though.
No,
right?
yeah, especially now that Super's out, it's like, yeah it totally got retconned and everything. It's totally out. It's not canon. I don't know if it ever was considered canon, because it was never Akira Toriyama that worked on it.
Right, so that was my understanding, and I could be totally wrong with this. Comment down below if you know the answer. But for GT, I believe it was Z ended. America wasn't ready to let Dragon Ball go.
Yep.
So I believe it was an American studio.
I think so.
That bought the story rights, or excuse me, just burped there. Whew.
Ooh.
But just they got permission granted to continue on with the story, and that's what GT was.
Yes.
But GT is not canon at all.
No.
You know, and I've actually never gone and watched all of GT. I've seen bits and parts.
I got through it.
Did you get through it?
Yeah, because I was also one of those American kids. So tell me about it,
because I've actually have like rarely met people who have actually watched all of GT.
Yeah, so I was definitely among that group as a kid of like, well, Z's over. I still want to watch more.
Right.
So of course, when GT was, you know, being dubbed and everything, and it started coming out, so I watched that. And yeah, it's like it's not great, because it's like, oh, it's trying to recapture the, you know, essence that was the original Dragon Ball. It's like, oh, make Goku a kid again, make this all about Goku. It's just like, it's just like, okay, well, now it's about Goku and Pan and Trunks, as Trunks is older now, but it's not cool, badass future Trunks that we got from the Cell Saga.
Teenage angsty Trunks.
It's teenage angsty Trunks. Mm-hmm. And so, like, they had a couple of decent ideas. I think the first saga was with Baby, which was... The lore is...
explain that to me.
Yeah, so the lore was... I don't remember the race, but apparently Planet Vegeta was inhabited by two races, the Saiyans and the...
Another one.
But so the Saiyans were the, you know, strong barbarian types. The other people were the smart, you know, intellectual types. Uh-huh. Well, the Saiyans were stronger, and they basically annihilated this other race. Gotcha. So, but one guy still survived, and like this is how they kind of tie it into like, oh well, it's kind of like Dr. Gero, because it's some big scientist or whatever, and he creates Baby, which is like a cell, and it basically infects people and takes control of them.
Okay.
So basically, it kind of builds up and ends up taking over the majority of the Earth. So now Goten, Gohan, and mainly Vegeta have all been taken over by Baby. And it's, you know, Baby's mainly in Vegeta, which is why you have Super Baby Vegeta.
Right.
And so Goku has to become strong enough to take on, you know, this new form of Vegeta, because, you know, Baby made him stronger somehow. And so Goku has to learn how to become Super Saiyan 4. And so that's how Super Saiyan 4 becomes a thing.
Oh, I thought he had to become Super Saiyan 4 for the Shenron.
No, that's like the end. That's like the end of GT. Gotcha. Is the Shenron stuff. So yeah, so it becomes like, oh, Goku needs to get his tail back, and then he has to transform into the Golden Ape. And
then, like, stare at the, like, Earth from the moon or something like that. Some stupid shit like
something
that.
Ridiculous. And then he had to gain control of the Golden Ape form, and it brings him back down into human form, and he's Super Saiyan 4. So, of course, you have Kid Goku, but then he turns into Adult Goku when he goes Super Saiyan 4.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of weird. So, yeah, there's the Baby Saga, and then after Baby's defeated... and they get rid of the scientist or whatever, apparently that scientist from... whatever race was on planet Vegeta, meets with Dr. Gero in hell.
Of course.
Of course. And so they work on opening a portal from hell back to Earth, and that's kind of how it starts with, now all of the old enemies that they took on are showing up on Earth. And
so that started to happen?
Yeah, that started to happen. And what they were doing this for is the other scientist that was teaming up with Dr. Gero creates his own version of Android 17.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I knew there was one that I wasn't thinking of because the only ones I could think of were Baby and Shenron.
Yes.
And then, or Ultimate, whatever the fuck he is. But yeah, so there was a Super 17.
Super 17.
Thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it became like this whole thing that, he can absorb any kind of energy or whatever, just like, the old androids and everything. So then Goku has to go do his like Super Dragon Fist and rip through him and get everybody back to hell. And then so I think after that, because it's just like really like 3 kind of arcs. It was the baby arc.
It was short. I think it was only like 40 or 50 episodes.
Yeah, I think so. Again, I don't know the exact number. So it was Baby, then it was Super 17, and then it started with the the Shenron things, because apparently that's how they wanted to end it. It's like, the Dragon Balls have been used so much now that now they're being corrupted. And so now they turned into like the Super Dragon Balls or something, and instead of just spreading around Earth, they spread throughout the universe.
Right.
And that might be how it started, or I don't really remember. It's been a long time since I watched GT. But so the original Dragon Balls get corrupted. And so now each Dragon Ball is turning into like some form of Shenron or whatever, and Goku has to, go with Trunks and Pan and fight all these versions.
Right.
Of this. So they fight and defeat all of them, and then Omega Shenron shows up, which I guess is like the 7-star ball, and absorbs all the other one, and becomes like Omega Shenron, maximum or something.
Whatever the fuck he is.
Yeah, so now he's super powerful, and Super Saiyan 4 can't beat him, and now Vegeta is learning.
It has to be Gogeta.
Yeah, right? Vegeta learns how to go Super Saiyan 4. They both can't beat him, so now Goku and Vegeta do the fusion dance, become Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and they finally beat him, and then that's the end of GT.
Woo!
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that explanation.
So much fun of non-canon Dragon Ball.
Oh my gosh, it's a cool series. One thing that does bother me about it, that they actually did get a little better with it as time went on with the Super.
I love Super. Super was great.
Well, so I didn't like Super at first. And the reason why I didn't like Super at first is because now you're getting to the point to where you have Goku and Vegeta turning into these like Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan.
Yeah, too many transformations. It's always been the problem since Cell.
So the too many transformations isn't even what bothered me.
Okay.
What bothers me is you have these super powerful Saiyans now that are basically gods, and they're still just using Kamehamehas to beat everything. Everything just comes down to, well, because I'm Super Saiyan God now, my Kamehameha wave is even more stronger than it was before.
Or let's fight really super fast so the animators have a break.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted different kind of attacks. I wanted different ways that they went about beating these people. And that's the Dark Tournament. I started to get that.
Yes.
And I enjoyed that because I was like, finally, we're getting something a little different than what we usually get with the Dragon Ball series.
And like that's kind of a big thing. And it's like that's why a lot of people will still go back to the original Dragon Ball and praise it for what it is, because the original Dragon Ball was new weird techniques. These enemies did different stuff. It wasn't all just punching and kicking.
Right.
It was like, what is this guy doing? It's like, this guy can create copies of himself. This guy takes the evil from within inside of you and uses it against you to kill you. And it's like, wow, it's like all this stuff. It's like, it's not just the Kamehameha. It's like, that's where After Image first came up. That's where Solar Flare first came up.
Yeah, a lot of those cool ones.
Yeah, a lot of the cool techniques. And it's just because, not everybody was Super Saiyan and flying around and punching and kicking as fast as possible.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to focus too much on Dragon Ball because we could do a whole podcast.
Oh,
on
we
Dragon
absolutely
Ball
could.
Z. But one anime that is by far one of my favorites, if not my favorite, and I would argue that my brother is a big anime fan too, as you know, and I think it's his favorite also, is Full Metal Alchemist, specifically Brotherhood.
Specifically Brotherhood. Don't get me wrong, the very first rendition has its own spot in my heart because it was the first version I saw.
Yes.
But no, Brotherhood is the superior version. It sticks closer to the manga, and it's just a fantastic, well done version of the anime.
Yes, it is. It has everything you want. I feel like.
Yeah, I really feel it does, and it's like, yeah, because it's like, it's so funny because if you watch the original one and then go to Brotherhood, you realize like the first series I believe is 50 episodes, or 52 or something like that.
They actually, I think they are both on par with each other.
Oh yeah, they might be, but I also know the first one ended with a movie. They went and made a movie. They did it.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. But it's real funny because I believe it's like the first 5 episodes of Brotherhood pretty much encompasses the first 40.
Okay, that was the funniest fucking thing when I watched it, right? Because when I first went to go watch Full Metal Alchemist, it had already been out, right? So I think the first time I watched it was like 2013, right? So it's already been out for years. And yeah, I went and I watched the first Full Metal Alchemist. You know, I, just as you said, always holds a place in my heart. You know, it was definitely definitely a much darker version than what we got from Brotherhood. You know, Brotherhood was much more intricate as far as like government and coups.
Yeah, and it stayed really true to like what the manga was doing.
Yeah.
But no, it's like when they had to kind of come up with filler because the manga wasn't done. The manga wasn't where it was when Brotherhood came out.
Right.
They had to kind of put together their own things, and they got to some dark places.
Well, and what you were saying about just like how much filler there actually was. I remember watching Full Metal Alchemist, and there was a specific thing that the two brothers had to do. And they had to go to, what was it? They had to go to building number 5.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like the warehouse.
The 5 is correct. It wasn't called building, though. It was called something else. But,
some warehouse in of a abandoned military base or something.
Yeah, so they had to go to warehouse number 5. And in there's like these 2 bad guys they have to fight. But the entire process of not only going to building number 5, but then what they went through while they were in building number 5 was like 10 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a whole arc that they had.
Oh, yeah.
And then I remember I went and I watched Brotherhood, and it was like episode 7, everything that happened in those 12 episodes, and this didn't happen till later down in the show either in the original.
Yeah, this was like episode 30 to 35 or something like that.
So all of a sudden, episode 7 in Brotherhood, everything that they did in building number 5, getting there, deciding they're going to go there, everything happened in a 20-minute episode on episode 7.
Yep.
And I was like, and that was when it clicked to me, because when I first started watching Full Metal Alchemist, or Brotherhood, I actually wasn't a fan because I was so used to the original.
Yeah.
And then when I got to 7, or episode 7, and saw that, my first initial reaction was like, oh wow, there was a lot of filler.
Yeah.
In the first one that I watched. Like I haven't even scratched the surface of this story.
Yep.
Like, I hate it when animes do that, but I get it.
I get why they do that. Well, yeah, because it's like if any anime, it's like I'm sure there are other ones, but it's like for me personally, if there's any anime that uses and abuses the filler system, it's Naruto.
Yeah, so I never got into Naruto.
Yes. Now, see, that was something I originally got into when it came to Toonami. Mm-hmm. And then I started watching it because, of course, Toonami only has like, we're only going to do a season. And then it's going to take like a year for us to dub the next season.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not waiting for this anymore. So I'm going to go watch it subbed, on... I think YouTube still had subbed episodes then because copyright hadn't hit.
Hadn't hit YouTube yet.
Yeah, it hadn't hit it yet. So, and then I was watching, I was like, okay, this is good and everything. And then I realized the first series of Naruto, when they're all kids and everything, has about 250 some episodes.
Okay.
And you realize, especially if you go look at like what episodes should I watch of Naruto, which ones aren't, and which ones are filler, it tells you it's like, oh, here's like a little 3-episode thing in the first 100 episodes that's filler. Oh, here's another 5 episodes. Episode 101 to episode 250 is all filler.
Wait, of the original?
Of the original Naruto.
Like when they're kids.
Yeah, when they're kids.
So episode 1 to 200.
Episode 101 to episode 250, 149 or 150 episodes of nothing but filler.
Wow.
It is so bad because I was just like, wait, what does this have to do with anything? And then I watched like the very last episode of Naruto. It's just like, oh, here's where we're going to span 2 years and then do Naruto Shippuden when we're all like 16 and everything. So it's just like, what was the point of all that? And then I started watching Shippuden when that came out. And then I got to like the first filler arc. I'm like, nope, I'm just going to read the manga. So I read the manga from like I think I watched like 20 episodes of Shippuden. And then from episode 20 to the very end of the manga, I just read the manga. Because I was so tired of all this damn filler.
I totally get it. I actually have a hard time, and the reason why I didn't get into Naruto is because I have a really hard time getting into the animes that are just that. They're like 300, 400 episodes long. Another perfect example of that is One Piece.
Oh, One Piece is still going.
Yeah, and I think One Piece is like up in the thousands now.
Oh, yeah.
As far as it. So I have people who are like you and I are into anime, and they'll be like, oh, do you watch One Piece? You should check out One Piece. I'm like, I'm not going to check out One Piece because regardless on whether or not I'm going to love it or not, I have no interest in trying to get caught up with 1,000+ episodes.
Absolutely.
And from my understanding of One Piece, there are filler episodes,
yes,
but it's not like whole sagas of filler. You know, the sagas are still part of the anime.
You know, it's really funny because it's like bringing up those long, overinflated anime series, and they're usually the shonen ones. I saw, like, browsing through Facebook, I always see the one joke that makes me laugh so hard of, like, somebody had posted, you know, life is too short to hate Naruto. And then the first comment is, life is too short to watch Naruto.
That's so true, though. Now, I enjoy them if I'm watching them from the beginning, right?
If I kept up with it from the beginning. I'm just like, oh, this just is never ending.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Dragon Ball Z was one of those. You know, I started watching when I was a kid during the earlier seasons, the earlier episodes, and then, you know, I continued with it through my life.
Yeah, like when Frieza said, like, hey, Namek's going to be destroyed in 5 minutes. 10 episodes later.
Exactly. 10, 20-minute episodes.
Yeah, 10, 20-minute episodes. It's been 200 minutes, Frieza. When is this planet going to blow up?
But, so one particular anime that I got really into, that I was actually very sad that they ended, it was another long one, but I kept up with it, so I didn't mind watching, was Fairy Tail.
Oh, yeah. See, now that's one I missed out on.
Oh, see, that's my Naruto.
Yeah,
for sure.
I completely understand.
I really enjoy that anime, and I've heard rumors that they are continuing with it.
I was hearing some things too about
because
that.
I don't think the manga ended. I think the manga continued on.
Yeah, sounds
right.
You
know, it was one of those. It was kind of like Shippuden, right? So like there was a whole kid like saga, but there were sagas within that saga. I think it was the same thing with Fairy Tail. There was this one huge over arc that ended, so they could have ended the series there.
Yeah.
But I think the actual creator is like continuing on with it,
sounds
which
right.
I can't fucking wait for because I love that anime so much.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely understand.
But a lot of those long form animes like that, I have a really hard time going back and watching, especially if they're already into it. And I know, like now, if it ends, if there's an ending. I'm more likely to do it. So if it's like 200 episodes, but episode 200 is the end, I'll probably go and watch it at some point.
Yeah. And like that's what's real funny because my wife does watch anime too. But it's always really funny because with her, I'm the one that grew up with all of the shonen animes and everything. So Dragon Ball Z and, Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin and everything. It's like these are long-spanning series. Now, my wife, she likes the more smaller series. She's like, if an anime is over 12 to 24 episodes, what's the point?
Interesting. And those are usually my favorites.
Yeah, those are usually some of my favorites too, but it's like I kind of understand. I'm just like, yeah, but it's like I grew up with Dragon Ball Z that's 200 some episodes. I grew up with Yu Yu Hakusho that I believe is exactly 115 episodes.
Yeah.
But it's just like, no, it's like I get it because it's like, oh, well, then you have stuff like Cowboy Bebop that's like 24 episodes.
Yeah, but was Cowboy Bebop only 24 episodes?
Oh, yeah. No, it's not a long one.
Really?
Yeah.
And it has such a crazy following.
Oh, it does. I am part of that following. I do love Cowboy Bebop to death.
I thought they were at least up to like the 50 mark or something. Like I knew they ended. I knew they didn't reach 100, but no. I had... Really?
Yep. It's not a long series, but that's what makes it so elegant and to the point and awesome.
Didn't Cowboy Bebop end with everybody dying because of some virus that came up? Sorry, if I'm totally spoiling this for people, but
you're not spoiling it, Adam.
because here's the thing. This is the reason I bring this up, because it was just a random memory that came to my mind. Was I never watched a lot of Cowboy Bebop. Like I watched it if it was on, but I was never like into it. But there was one particular episode I remember watching where it was basically just all the characters on a ship, and there was some weird alien virus thing that was going and making everybody sick.
That's a fantastic episode.
But it was going and making everybody sick. And then if memory serves me correctly, because this is when I was like 10, like everybody dies on the ship. And now that I know that that the show was only 24 episodes long, was that how it ended?
No, that wasn't the
Or was that just some random episode?
It was some random episode, and I think that it's kind of... Because Cowboy Bebop, I'm not sure if it had a manga, so don't quote me. But I think it's like it did have a couple of filler episodes, even though it was 24 episodes long, because that is one of the filler episodes where it's just like, oh, yeah, there's like... Yeah, because the episode was basically...
It was weird. There was like almost no talking. It was...
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a lot of inner monologue with Spike, because he had... he's like, oh, yeah, I got this lobster dinner like 2 months ago, and it's been sitting in this fridge. And he's like, should I look at it? It's like, I don't know. And he like opens it up.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's just like, oh, mutated and gross and everything. He's just like, nope.
And then it wreaks havoc on the ship.
Yeah, and it wreaks havoc on the ship. So no, he finally like gets it and burns it, and then he takes the fridge where it was sitting in and opens up the airlock and kicks the fridge out. He's like, nope, none of that. So it's like, yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes, and the mushroom episode is also another one of my favorite ones.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, so basically they're all starving, and like they find some like weird mushrooms, and they take them, and they are psychedelic mushrooms.
Ooh, yeah.
So everybody starts tripping balls. Everybody, like, you see Spike, and he's, like, going upstairs, but it's, like, and, like, the stairs are really long in his mind, and he meets a talking frog. He's like, where are you going, man? He's like, I don't know, I just got to get up these stairs. And then you see him in real life, he's just stepping up and down on the same step.
See, those, I always appreciate those kind of episodes of animes, especially.
It's so good.
So to not deviate from the anime conversation, but I always like to make this point clear when I'm talking about anime, especially when I feel that there are people who might be listening who are just totally lost right now, right? And or are like, oh, these fuckers like anime, what fucking nerds or cartoons. The reason why I enjoy anime so much is because there's an originality aspect to anime that you miss out on in everyday Hollywood films or TV shows on TV. And that includes anything you see on YouTube Red or Netflix. Yeah. I mean, fuck, some of the more popular shows right now on Netflix. I'll use what I've been watching for an example. So Netflix released this show called The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so it's a production company that what they're doing is they're taking these old, I can't remember what the string of comics were, but there was basically an umbrella of comics. The Archie Bunker comics, I think, came from them. Sabrina the Teenage Witch came from them. And so they're making these shows based off of those old comics, but they're making them dark, whereas these things were very lighthearted comics. Yeah. So even Sabrina the Teenage Witch show with Melissa Joan Hart was very lighthearted.
Yeah, it was very lighthearted.
But these are dark versions of it. So I've been really into like The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is just that. It's a dark version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Nice.
But again, though, sure, you're going about the story in an original way, but it's still not original.
Yeah.
It's not an original story at all. You're taking something that was already fed to you and you're vomiting it up, but everybody's going to vomit the same food differently. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
completely understand.
So when you get to animes and stuff, you do have a lot of people that complain and go, oh, well, they're just cartoons, or, oh, they just pander to people who want to see, big breasted, big butt, cute girls, in cartoon form, whatever it is.
Right.
And there are people out there like that, and I understand that that's why anime gets a bad rap. But if you are out there and you've never watched an anime, I promise you there is one for you.
Oh yeah, it is so diverse.
There are ones that jump into more of the fantasy stuff, like what Kyle and I have been talking about today, and there are other ones that are played off totally serious, like everyday life.
Yeah, what was one of the ones that we had both talked about and got into more recently?
I know exactly the one you're talking about, and I can't think of the name.
I can't think of the name either, because it's like you were the one that told me it's about to get a live action version.
Yes. Oh, fuck. What was it called? It was... You're talking about the time traveling-esque one, right? Yeah, I can't remember the name, but yeah, they did make a live action version of it.
Yeah, because it was very simple, but it was very real. It was very like, oh, this is what's going on. And...
Well, but even that one had a more supernatural kind of feel to it. There was an anime that my brother and I watched years ago. I think it was like the name of it was like an abbreviation of something. It was called like NPK or something like that. But it was on Netflix. It was like a 13, 14 episode anime.
Okay.
But the entire episode was about this gentleman who lived in, how in Japan they have those small little tiny studios. It's like just enough for a little bedroom and like a bathroom. So he lived in one of those. He just like played video games or watched movies all day. There was like a name for them, like a Neen or Nen or something like that. They had a name for it.
Sure.
But the anime was just about this guy living in there, and then he like one day he gets the courage to like go out and just like walk around and deal with people, and he ends up meeting this very eccentric girl. And then he meets his neighbor who's younger than him, but is also very eccentric, and he kind of ends up being this like big brother figure to him. So it's this 14 episode anime, but there's no like supernatural aspect to it. There's no fantasy aspect. It's literally just a well told story about this shut in and how he just kind of like spreads his wings, and there's a bit of a love story mixed in with there.
Nice.
But like I said, total anime, total done in anime style.
Yeah.
But you're not getting the kind of stuff that people think of when they think of anime.
Oh, absolutely.
It just like I said, it's just going back to my point of just there's an anime for everybody.
Oh, there absolutely is. It's like if you look, and it's like, and I know we've hit on that on the podcast a lot before, because it's like there are plenty of big name movies out there that got their inspiration.
We talked about The Matrix.
The Matrix and everything.
So Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, it's like there's like anime got big for a reason,
Yes.
It has inspired a lot of people to like make their own kinds of stories and everything.
Yeah, one allows, and because you have this style of people, right? They don't look like Family Guy characters or Bob's Burgers characters. They look like people, proportions and everything, with the right proportions. So
just really big eyes.
Yeah, just really big guys, exactly. But not all the time.
Not all the time.
Not all the time.
No.
So you're able to put yourself in that situation and imagine it in a more realistic aspect, which is what I think people appreciate. Speaking of live action animes, though, have you seen Alita Battle Angel yet?
I have not.
I haven't either. I never even read a manga or seen an anime about it. But
I had not heard about it until I heard the movie.
But it looks fucking badass, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm super excited to see that movie. See, I think we're getting closer and closer to seeing like a live action anime.
Oh, I think
done well.
Done well, yes.
Because there's been a lot.
Yeah, there are plenty of anime and video game movies that have been made in Hollywood that shall not be named because of terribleness.
Oh my gosh. But even some of them too, like I know Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yep, there's that one.
But the director of that one recently, I think within the past couple of years, literally came out and apologized for the movie.
Oh, good.
Was like, this was a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I realize it was a piece of shit now. Like he literally came out and admitted that it was, he didn't focus on story a lot and everything because it was a money grab for him.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's animes out there though that it actually really bothers me when the Japanese make live version animes.
Because
they've done a few. They did Death Note.
Yeah, Death Note was more our side though, right? Because that was American.
No, that was all Japanese.
No.
America action did a Death Note version,
right?
But there was an
original one
that was Japan.
Yeah,
and then they recently did Bleach and Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, so I'm like, not really feeling big on those. The one I heard that was actually decent was the Rurouni Kenshin live action one.
I heard that too, but it makes sense for that one because there's no real fantasy aspect of that. It's a samurai with a sword.
Yeah.
And he just never uses the sharp side of it.
Yeah.
I think was the whole gimmick of that
the reverse blade katana.
Yeah. But that's my point though, is I feel like when you want to make a live action anime, the reason why a lot of these studios, including the Japanese ones, fail at doing so is because they try to implement too much of the fantasy aspect.
Mm-hmm. And I think they do a lot overboard of fan service.
Yes, exactly. Whereas what I think you need to do to really make an anime live action shine is you have to Nolan it. Christopher Nolan, for those who don't know, did the live action Batman movies with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger as the Joker.
And many other fantastic movies.
But specifically with the Batman movies, he took something that always had a fantasy and kind of supernatural aspect to it. There had been live action movies done before that had been popular in their own right, but the director always still put that fantasy comic book aspect to it. And the reason why the Nolan Batman movies did so fucking well is because he took a fantasy aspect and he put it what's the word I'm looking for? He pasted it into realism.
Yes.
He goes, this is how it would be if they actually happened in real life.
If Batman was a more realistic character that existed in our universe, this is what you'd be seeing.
Our universe, that's a good way to put it. And I think that's what you need to do with, if you wanted to make a live-action Dragon Ball Z or Full Metal Alchemist, you have to take those fantasy aspects, but be like, okay, well, if this actually could happen in our world, how exactly would it go down?
Yeah.
And then that's how you're able to really do well with those kind of movies.
Yeah, and it's that it is absolutely what it comes down for, because it's nobody's really looking, I don't know, maybe there are, for live action renditions of animes that are shot for shot what the anime was.
No, and unfortunately, so you're right. I think people like you and I aren't looking for that.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why there's not a market for those kind of movies right now is because at some core, that is what people want.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the reasons why Dragon Ball Z, for example, why there hasn't really been good live action films for that, and I'm not just talking about Evolution, there's been a lot of short films.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. YouTube-based short films.
And to be fair, every time a new one is made, we're getting better. We're getting closer to getting a good, solid live-action Dragon Ball Z film. But a lot of the reasons why people complain about it, one of the biggest ones being hair, right?
Yeah.
Everybody complains that the hair on these fucking anime characters don't look, the way that they do in the cartoons.
Hey, according to the internet, Captain Marvel got the hair right. If you've seen any of the trailers, there's been a big comparison of how Captain Marvel is just basically live-action Dragon Ball Z. Because there's a whole scene in the trailer where she goes Super Saiyan.
Really?
Well, she goes all golden, her hair
sticks
up.
You mean as far as Super Saiyan goes, they got it right.
Well, yeah, and people were like kind of comparing. It's like, you have this character that has blonde hair. It sticks up when she gets powerful. She flies around and punches people, and then the alien she's fighting is green skinned.
Oh my gosh. That's why Marvel bothers me so much. I feel like they just take a lot of fucking shit from stuff that, I mean, Stan Lee, rest in peace, buddy. Good job.
Yeah, rest in peace.
But still, man, come on.
Well, I mean, comics are kind of the same way because there's just so many of them at this point.
Yeah.
It's oversaturated.
Well, and I still think Superman's DC, but I still think the idea of Superman was stolen from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, and of course, Dragon Ball, the original story is just a journey to the West, just told through Akira Toriyama's eyes.
Well, yes, but the whole thing with Dragon Ball Z, though, or just Dragon Ball, going back to the original, is what? There was a child that was put on a ship to escape a planet that was going to die.
Yep.
Lands on Earth, is picked up, by a farmer, so to speak, right?
Yep.
And then he has to raise him. Taught the ways of humans. There's supernatural aspects about him. And, through his trials and errors, he learns about himself. It's fucking Smallville. It's Superman.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty
just
sure...
with a lot less teenager angst.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure Dragon Ball came before Superman.
Yeah, I don't
I could be wrong.
Yeah, because
I think it did.
Yeah, because it's like I don't know when the first Superman comic came out, so...
But it's how I feel the same with like a lot of the Marvel and the DC stuff. I mean, I get it, but I just want more original shit, Kyle.
Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it?
But I don't know. The as far as getting a live action anime movie, I think we are closer. A lot of people say Alita Battle Angel, did nail it as far as that's concerned.
That's fantastic to hear.
Speaking of Marvel and DC, though, did you see Captain Marvel?
I have not yet.
No?
Yeah, there's plans to go see it. Usually something I do with my dad. So it's like we're still trying to work that out and go see it. So... Yeah, but it's like because it's like I've pretty much watched every other Marvel movie up to this point. It's like it's just been an ongoing thing for the past 10 years.
Right?
Yeah, it's again another situation of I've invested 20 some movies in, might as well finish them.
Yes,
I've always been that way. It's like if I find out a game or a TV show or something it's just turning out bad, I'm like, well, I've gotten through 8 seasons or I've played 30 hours.
It was funny. I actually heard a Star Wars joke told recently it was actually by one of the people who do one of the voices on The Simpsons. And I hope I don't botch this joke because I'm trying to remember from memory here. But he said something like, life's like a Star Wars, like the Star Wars franchise. And he goes, you can like them, you can hate them, but we're still all obligated to go see them.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that's what happens. Like even me, who's, I do like Star Wars, but there are definitely franchises out there I'm bigger fans of.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But Star Wars is one of those franchises where it's like, well, it doesn't matter. You have to see the new Star Wars movie.
I've gotten this far in, and it's just like, you're going to end up missing something. You're not going to be able to talk about it when everybody else is talking about it.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, no, I get that. But it's like, and that's kind of like something else is just realizing like, oh, well, once something goes on for too long, it starts to degrade. Because it's like, I think I've noticed that a lot with TV shows mainly. Because it's like, there haven't been many TV shows that have ended before they got bad.
That's true. You're right. They always try to continue on with that. That was actually why I appreciated Breaking Bad.
That's my perfect example because Vince Gilligan nailed it. He said 5 seasons and we're out.
Yes.
Because, it's usually around the 7th, 8th, or 9th season where it's just like, why hasn't the show died yet?
And you can always tell.
Oh, yeah.
You can always tell when the show should have ended and maybe when the creator wanted the show to end. And then the producer's always just like...
we need that money.
Exactly.
No, because it's like we've seen that. It's like The Office, fantastic, probably one of the most watched shows on Netflix.
It should have ended when Steve Carell left.
Yep, should have ended at the end of season 7 when he left.
Yes.
It's like, I know I used to be a big fan of House. It's like, towards like the last couple of seasons, everybody left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, well, and it was another show of like, okay, well, this is supposedly the last season of House. I might as well watch it. It was a pretty terrible season, in my opinion. So, House was that way. Scrubs, also love Scrubs. Really annoyed because they had 8 seasons. The final episode of season 8 was called My Finale. And then 2 years later, they're like, oh, here's Scrubs back for season 9. And it's like, what?
And it was totally different people.
Yeah,
right?
it was med school, and it wasn't any of the original actors. Like, oh, maybe they made little cameos, but they're not the main focus anymore. It's all these interns.
Right.
Yeah, it got about like 5 or 6 episodes in and then got canceled.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like, again, you already ended the show. Why are you continuing it? Stop.
Yeah.
Just stop.
It's you're right. There's too many shows that do that, and I'm trying to think. There was one recent that I saw that I felt like did that. I can't remember it though. I'm not gonna try to remember.
Yeah, I know like a lot of people gave flack to How I Met Your Mother because that was another show.
You know what? How I Met Your Mother it's funny. I never got into that show.
I can understand.
There were so many people like you and my brother and like a lot of people that I know that are usually into the same stuff that I am, or like check out How I Met Your Mother. And dude, I always did try to go back and watch them, and like it's one of those, I understand the appeal of the show, but I just personally was just like, I don't find it funny. I don't find it entertaining. Right. I feel like Neil Patrick Harris is an entertaining guy, but I do not think he is a good actor.
Right.
I do not think he played his part well. I thought he played it very obviously just trying to be, a douche.
Over the top.
Yeah.
And see, like, now, and that's what's real funny, because, like, I feel like that's where theories come in and make something that was not great seem a little bit better. Because it's like, yeah, it's like for me, How I Met Your Mother was like, okay, this is fun. And it was a lot more fun when I was in my early 20s, single, and living the bachelor lifestyle. Because, this is a show about bachelors.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I can, I understand where this is coming from and everything. It's like, I, too, want to go out and drink and party and just, meet women. Right. So it's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Right. So it's like, that's why I really got into the show. But it's like, yeah, ever since I've, like, finished it and everything, I don't think I've ever gone back and watched it again. Mm-hmm. And it's like also the big thing, going back to the whole theories making things that seem terrible better, is there's a big theory that since Ted, the main character of the show, is telling the entirety of the show through his eyes to his kids of like, oh, here's what's happened. And of course, it's been a while, but spoilers.
Right.
That he ends up with Robin at the very end, that the mom, he meets the mom.
Mom passes.
They have kids. The mom passes, and he's like, "Oh well, I wanted to tell you this so I can get you. I can get my kids' permission if I can date Aunt Robin."
Well, it wasn't even that. I remember, because I do remember the last episode, and I remember he told it, and they were like,
"Oh, just go
the
with
kids."
her.
Yeah, the kids were like,
"Go,
what are you doing here? Go, Dad, go to her, get us a new mom."
Yeah, and so like that was the big thing. Like the theory became that the reason why Neil Patrick Harris's character Barney was such a douchebag was because this is being told through Ted's eyes. Barney was the one that ended up with Robin. He was the one that was getting married to Robin,
Oh, interesting.
So, of course, why would Barney be a douchebag unless he's trying to make Barney not seem like the right guy for Robin?
Interesting. That does add. I mean, it doesn't make me any more interested to watch the show,
but it makes the show more interesting.
But it does make the show more interesting.
And it's like that is something else I heard about How I Met Your Mother. That ending scene, the end of the show, they filmed at about season 2 or 3.
Oh, really?
Because they wanted the kids to still look like they did when the show started.
So they had it all planned out.
They had it all planned out, and that was something I found out recently. So I was just like, oh yeah, well, look at what was happening in season 2 and 3. Everybody was really excited to see Ted get with, Robin. That was the big thing. But over the next 5-6 seasons, people had given up on Ted getting with Robin because it wasn't happening. People had learned to like Barney's character more because now he's being more sentimental and he's getting with Robin, and they want to see Barney and Robin hit it off. And now everybody's just like, oh, I just want to meet the mom because that's what we've been building up to. And then it's just like, Yes, we already kind of had this ending planned out for the past 5 seasons, so we're still going to use it.
Well, and that's what bothered me. So I ended up watching a lot of the show because at the time, and there was a time when I lived in an apartment with my brother and somebody else, and they both really liked the show, so it was on a lot. So I just, by being there, I was watching it a lot.
Yeah.
And I will say that I was very into the last season because the last season was very emotional.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like they tugged at those heartstrings very well.
Yep.
So I did enjoy the last season. But what bothered me, just as like the same as I think bothered a lot of people, is just as you said, all of a sudden you're taking these characters that maybe weren't supposed to be so likable, and now you're making them likable, like Barney and Robin.
Yeah.
So, and just as, again, you said, you went through 3 seasons seeing this relationship between Barney and Robin flourish, as they got together and then got married and did all that. And then the very last episode, you spend a second of him saying the marriage didn't work out. They got divorced.
Yep. What?
Well, I would have loved to see that.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see that progression.
And that's what's real funny because I also heard about that when they released the last season on DVD. They had an alternate ending where the mom didn't die.
So tell me about that because I never saw the alternate ending.
So I ended up just looking it up on like YouTube or whatever, and it was just like, so basically he says like, oh, hey, I met your mom. We had the kids, we had you guys, and, we grew up raising you, and it was all great. And then it's just, instead of going to, oh, she died, and I want to get back with Robin, it's just, we raised you guys, we had a good time. And that's how I met your mother. Cut to credits.
See, I would have preferred that.
Exactly! The majority of the fan base would have preferred that.
But like, I also look at it, too, it's like, what was the fuck, like... Okay, sure, you had to make an alternate ending to appease fans who didn't like the original one. Yes. But you made the original one. Like, I would have just kept it. I would have been like, okay, well, fine, you hated it. Sorry, but that's the way it ended, Like, going back and creating an alternate ending. What? You have people who are going to be, like, going through watching the whole series again and going, we're going to make sure we choose the right ending this time.
Yeah.
Like, come on, get the fuck out of here. But everybody loved How I Met Your Mother.
It was good for its time.
It was one of the most high-ranking shows at the time.
I definitely never go back to it. So it's like, if that tells you anything, it's like, I go back to The Office all the damn time. I watch that show over at least the first 7 seasons.
So you just don't get the well, not replay value, but I mean, I guess it's replay value.
Yeah, it's kind of replay value. Yeah, no, I don't feel How I Met Your Mother has very good replay value. It's like The Office has fantastic replay value. I will watch the first 7 seasons over and over and over again.
See, and it's funny. I feel the same way about The Office, whereas like I've seen all of The Office, but I probably wouldn't go back and watch it again.
See, it's like for me, it's The Office and it's Scrubs. I will go back and watch Scrubs over and over again too, because Scrubs is that show I grew up, got through high school with, so it's like it has that place in my heart.
I feel that. I get that. I used to be like that with That 70s Show a lot.
Oh, yeah. I got through That 70s Show as well. And it's like, see, another perfect example of a show that
should have ended.
That stayed on too long.
Should have ended after season 5 and they got rid of Eric.
Yep, exactly.
All right, man. Well, I believe we have reached our hour.
Oh, look at that.
Our hour.
Ooh.
Our hour.
I love words.
I love words. All right, Kyle, thank you so much for being on with me today.
Of course, sir. It was a pleasure.
I always enjoy having you on. We are going to be doing a 3 Men podcast here soon.
Ooh.
So when that comes to be, we can do little things like meet you and Vince.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I know Vince would love that.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of good things to come, dude. A lot of good things to come for all of you out there.
Be ready.
Be ready. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I do always appreciate the listeners. Remember to follow us on all the social media platforms. I've said it the past few times, but I will say it again. We do have a second update video coming out soon. It will be up before April 1st. That is guaranteed.
No April Fools here?
No April Fools here. That's why it had to be before April 1st.
Yes.
So, Eddie, as far as when the exact day will be coming out, I'm not quite sure yet. I just can guarantee will be before April 1st. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys, to Kyle and I nerd out for an hour.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate you so very much.
We really do. Any final thoughts, Kyle?
You know what? Keep being nerds out there. Keep enjoying yourselves. And always look to a brighter tomorrow.
There you go, guys. Words to live by. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.